Hello again. Today I want to talk about something that someone's asked me about recently, and I think needs to be addressed, and probably should have done this a little earlier in our series. It's about overcoming objections, overcoming resistance to even starting hypnosis with a client. And by what I mean is resistance on the part of the client, because a lot of times the client may not have a very good impression of what hypnosis is. You know, hypnosis is one of those things that most people know very little about, and the little bit that they know is usually misinformation. It's not uncommon if you've ever tried to do hypnosis before, told somebody you're doing it, they will make the jokes because they're uncomfortable about, "You're not going to make me bark like a dog or cluck like a chicken or dance like Michael Jackson," or all those things. That is a reflection of what they've seen on the stage, on stage hypnosis. Stage hypnosis, as we well know, is not an accurate representation of clinical hypnosis, clinical hypnotherapy. So if we feel that we need to really do some in-depth hypnotic work with our clients, we might need to overcome their initial fears and rejection of the process, really, before we can, get into doing some good quality work. What I find is that at the end of the day, if the client wants to do that, we honor it. If the client doesn't want to do that, we honor it. So again, we're not going to force anybody to do a hypnotic induction if they don't want to. We're going to offer it to the client. And if the client has an objection, then we're going to answer that objection and try to inform them in a kind, compassionate way. Now, to begin with, a lot of times when we're doing some mild interventions, we may not even have to call it hypnosis, because what we're doing, even though it's hypnotic, may be guided visualizations. It may be mindfulness. So if it's not in-depth, intense hypnosis, you don't have to technically say it's hypnosis because it meets the criteria for these other interventions. But if we really are going to be doing hypnosis, serious hypnosis, we need to talk to the client about any misconceptions they may have, concerns about the process. So ask them, what questions do you have? What are you most concerned about? And most of the time, if you have a good rapport, they'll tell you. A common objection, if you will, is, well, I'm afraid of losing control. Now, that's rooted in this idea that by doing hypnosis, we can control other people, that just by the sound of our voice, we can magically make people do things that they don't want to do. Now, there's a couple of ways to handle this. One is to just, if they're somebody who's very auditory and they like information, is to cite all the biological reasons why just by talking to someone you won't be able to make someone do something that's outside their value system. And that's another important thing to bring up. We're not going to make anybody do anything, and even if we could, we can't make them do something that's outside their value system. If we tell somebody that they need to go murder somebody, and they would never do that, that's not in their value system, no amount of deep hypnotic induction would make them go out and murder somebody. Milton Erickson could not, or Dave Ellman, or any of these geniuses could not make somebody do something that's so beyond their value system. But this idea of control, an easy way to overcome that is to just look at them and go, if I could really control people just by the words I use, my life would be so much different. And most of the time that'll kind of do away with the objection, because why are we multi-billionaires if we can control people just by the words coming out of our mouth and the connection, hypnotic connection. My friend William has a great response. He said, if I could control people just by what I said, why am I not the emperor of Cuba? And it's kind of a humorous thing. The other day I told someone, I said, look, if I could control people by using hypnosis to that extent, why have I been married more than once? and get a little chuckle out of them, but it sets them at ease, because we don't want them to think that we're going to make them do things that they don't want to do outside the value system. We want to give it a nice, safe environment. So a lot of times you explain the process. Here's exactly what's going to happen. Now, if you've done this long enough, it may not always go that way, but the bulk of the way we do things is usually similar. For example, the first thing is that you're going to get very relaxed. You're going to get so very relaxed. And you're going to get so very comfortable. And you'll be able to hear everything I'm saying. And you can choose whether you want to listen or not. And at any time, if you like, we could stop. And you can stop, because you are in control of how deeply you go into trance. And just by giving them that information, oh, you're in control. So you don't have to go into trance at all. You could just, decide not to go into trance. And that's okay. We're giving them that idea that they're in control. See, the truth is that hypnosis is actually helping them get more control, because they're coming to us usually because they feel out of control. But be that as it may, they don't want someone coming in and taking charge of their lives and making them do all kinds of crazy things. If you're working in the mental health field, and since this is trance for therapists, I'm assuming you may be, we got trust issues with a lot of people to begin with. So if they've come to you for therapy and you say, in addition to the regular therapy, some hypnosis may help, that might not be what they bargained for. So you may have some trust issues might be some of the reason they're actually coming to see you. So we have to tread lightly. But I find that if we're just up front and tell people exactly what we're going to do, that we're not going to be able to control you, that it's not what you see on the stage, that helps people to relax. Now, I did hear one person do a nice little reframe about the stage hypnosis that you may want to use. It went something like this. The client patient said that, I see those people doing those crazy things up on stage, and I don't want to do that. And the hypnotherapist said, yes, isn't it remarkable how those people can alter their behavior so rapidly on stage? Can you imagine the amazing things that could be accomplished when you trust a kind and compassionate hypnotherapist who's here for your best interests? And just kind of, reframed it a little bit. So I'm like, well, if a hypnotist can make you do that, hey, maybe this hypnotist can make me actually lose some of this anxiety or beat some of this depression. But as per usual, it always depends on the person you're working with. So if you get these objections, just head on. Ask them, what are you afraid of? And honor that. Hey, listen, I get that. I don't want anybody controlling me either. And I would never, ever want to take away any of your power. I want to give you power back to run your own lives. So, not a technique to use in hypnosis, but we want to be upfront with people. We want to let them know what we're doing, and also to help them feel safe, to feel comfortable. And if we can get them to have some degree of comfort about the process, it will go so much easier. So, as usual, play with that, and I'll see you on the next video.